זה עושה לי את זה לטאטא רחוב בין 5,000 שנה.
Dr. Raphael Greenberg, a professor at Tel Aviv University, is one of Israel's most respected archaeologists. These days, Dr. Greenberg is a worried man.
להדגיש יותר את
4,000 years ago, the heart of ancient Jerusalem was here. It was first discovered by the British explorer Charles Warren in the mid-19th century. And since then, the search for the biblical city of David has fired the imagination of countless archaeologists. Today, these impressive antiquities sit inside a disputed area of Jerusalem, the Palestinian village of Silwan, captured by Israel in the 1967 war. In such a sensitive place, which stories you tell and who tells them can have a profound impact on the people who live there. This is what is worrying Dr. Greenberg, and he takes his fellow academics around the City of David excavations to explain the problem.
אני עצמי התחלתי את הקריירה הארכיאולוגית שלי כאן, בירושלים, בחפירות עיר דוד, בשנים 78 עד 82. ואלה השנים שהכרתי היטב את האזור הזה, התרוצצתי כאן על הגבעות, הכרתי את אשתי כאן, היא עדיין אשתי, ויש לי קשר אישי מאוד משמעותי למקום הזה. עם הזמן מצאתי עבודה באוניברסיטת תל אביב, אני מרצה שם, ובאתי להכין סיור בשנת 2002, אני לא זוכר, משהו כזה. ולתדהמתי מצאתי שהמקום שהכרתי אותו שינה את פניו. כלומר, המקום שהכרתי שהיה כפר ערבי ובתוכו ארכיאולוגיה, הפך למקום שבו מסתובבים שומרים חמושים, עם אקדחים שלופים בכל רגע נתון, שבו הסמלים של נוכחות יהודית מועצמים, דגלים ענקיים, תצפיתנים בכל מיני מקומות, מצלמות שמצלמות 24 שעות ביממה. וזו הייתה ההיכרות המחודשת שלי עם ירושלים, או עם עיר דוד, תחת שלטון, מה שאני קורא תחת שלטון אלעד, עמותת אלעד, שהיא עמותה המיישבת כאן, שגם מפתחת את האתר הארכיאולוגי בשנים האחרונות.
For the last 10 years, the City of David National Park has been run by a private foundation called Elad, or Ir David. Doron Spielman is their Director of Development.
The Ir David Foundation protects what is perhaps maybe the holiest place in the world, or certainly one of the most historical places in the entire world. And we're standing at no better place to understand the history of three of the largest religions in the world today. Here behind me we can see the well-known Temple Mount, the place that originally King Solomon built his temple over Jerusalem 3,000 years ago. Today we can see the Al-Aqsa Mosque standing on top of the Temple Mount. And we are now in the cradle of civilization for Jerusalem, the place that 3,000 years ago King David came in his attempt to conquer Jerusalem. In this location, the Bible is the most accurate text in understanding the life of the city. As a matter of fact, 60% of the Bible was written on this little hill, which is only 150 meters wide by 700 meters long. every layer, every stone you pull up here and you look at the other side of the stone, you can find a clue to a past civilization. So this place is so rich in archaeology that, of course, that's what draws everybody to get closer and closer, to pile home on top of home, to be close to the energy in this place.
לא להכניס צלמים.
רק של העמותה.
אבל זה שטח של העמותה פה?
בטח. שטח פרטי של העמותה.
אני לא חושב.
שטח פרטי של העמותה.
נדמה לי שאתה טועה. זה מקום ציבורי לדעתי.
זה שטח פרטי של העמותה. העמותה השקיעה פה כסף, לא המדינה.
אתה חושב שיש הבדל בין העמותה והמדינה?
יש הבדל. עמותת אלעד הם היחידים בינתיים ששומרים פה על השרידים בירושלים. המדינה לא מוציאה שקל על הדבר הזה.
המדינה לא נותנת לעמותה כלום?
שקל לא מוציאה. שקל לא מוציאה. סליחה? סליחה? כן? למה את מצלמת?
זה מעניין אותה. כי לדעתי זה שטח ציבורי כאן, השטח של החפירות. זה תמיד היה ציבורי, זה היה מעבר פה. ואז עשו פה חפירות, קראו להם חפירות הצלה, אמרו שצריכים לטפל פה בביוב.
נכון, הביוב התפוצץ וגילו פה את הבריכה.
אז זה שייך לאלעד?
בטח, עמותת אלעד היא זאת שהוציאה את כל הכסף פה.
אוקיי, אז זה שייך לאלעד. אוקיי, תודה. So we have here to our right is the historic village of Silwan, and there are many antiquities interspersed with the modern buildings, and you can actually see some parts of the bedrock cliff and the tombs, the ancient tombs that were cut into that cliff about 700 or 800 BC. And then over on this side is the archaeological park of the city of David. It's theoretically open to the public. In practice, however, Silwanis, people living here, have no part in this park. They don't enter the park. They don't have any opportunity to see its antiquities or to study them.
This way. And this is the ancient tunnel that he discovered when he came to Jerusalem in 1867. We're looking carved into solid bedrock, an opening that goes down into the middle of the earth, underneath the city wall, to the water source. You see, the Canaanites, the progenitors of the Jebusites in 1850 BCE, dug this underground shaft which brought people underneath the city wall to their water. Now, why is this so fantastic? There are a few places in the world that you can stand and say, no question, they were here. I can tell you with certainty that David, Solomon, Bathsheba, Jeremiah, Isaiah, go through all the prophets and all the kings of the ancient world, perhaps the Queen of Sheba. They all stood here and walked down this very shaft because this was the only way to gather water from the city. Come on and join the fun.
Okay, until about 200 years ago, no one had any idea where the city of David is. Okay, and that changed on 1860 when a British man came to Israel. His name was Captain Charles Warren, and he came to Israel and he wanted to dig underneath the Temple Mount. And why did he want to dig there? Any ideas?
Looking for treasure.
Okay, looking for treasures, exactly.
Without a doubt, we've experienced the most explosive tourism in the entire country. I think this is due to the fact that just now all these incredible archaeological finds which have enormous importance to the entire world, have come to light. And the archaeology itself speaks. This is not just a stone. This wall is not just a wall. I'm not touching just a stone here. I'm touching a stone and I can feel the chisel made by the Canaanites as they made the stone. I feel King David's hand as I put my hand on this stone.
Back in the 70s and 80s, when I excavated here, and afterwards when the area began to be developed, it was developed by the Jerusalem municipality as a public park, accessible to anyone, and it was supposed to represent part of the mosaic of cultures of Jerusalem. What has happened in recent years is that the Elad Settlers Group has volunteered, so to speak, to take on the management of the entire archaeological park. And they're not doing this out of kindness or goodwill, but it's part of their program to kind of take over and occupy large parts of Silwan and make it Jewish. So they have they have their own slant on the history of this region. It begins more or less at the time of David, and then history ends with the destruction of the Second Temple, only to be renewed with their own settlement history here of the early Zionist or 19th century Jewish settlement. This is the Elad view. Now they're entitled to their view as anyone else in Jerusalem is entitled to their view, but what has happened is that the government has handed over the keys, metaphorically and physically, to the Elad organization, and they now control the entire site. And they are using their control of these antiquities to control all of Silwan. So it's a very highly politicized approach to the way antiquities are excavated and presented. And this is what troubles me.
In 2004, a city planned to enlarge the archaeological park called for the demolition of 88 houses here in Silwan. After months of protests by Palestinian, Israeli and international activists, the demolition order was put on hold. But for many, the threat of losing their house remains real.
חבר'ה, אנחנו יושבים פה על חבית נפץ. שקט. זה ישתנה. זה לא טוב לא לנו ולא לכם, ולא לילדים שלי ולא לילדים שלכם.
Abed Shaludi, who lives in Silwan, was one of the leaders of the protest campaign.
They wanted to destroy 100 houses. And the demolishing order that we received from the municipality, they said that Silwan is part of the very big site of the Jewish history, and the King David were here before 1,000 years ago, and he built his kingdom on the Jerusalem and the old city, and his garden were Silwan because they had a lot of water in all of the years. And imagine, in a few words down there, they wrote, and that's why we want to destroy 100 houses. 1,500 people lived in these houses. Imagine that. They want to throw them out because King David were here. He slept here. He ate here. So what?
These are Arab children who live here. Alan. No? Children will be children. Children always stay outside of the political argument. So this began the process in 1986 is the forming of my foundation, the Ir David Foundation, whose goal is to return all this land you see behind you into Jewish hands. And we purchased much of this land for much more than its face value in order to return as many of these assets as possible back to the Jewish people. Today, 65% of this land is now back in Jewish hands. You have Jews and Arabs living here peacefully together. And on the surface of the earth, You have the dynamic of the Jews and the Arabs living together, and underneath their feet, you're exploring history.
They offer my father $500,000. I'm aware I was a millionaire. I was, which is I refused. You know, before a week ago, we had a talk with a friend. He don't live here. He told me, you know, this is the opportunity of your life. You know, this is $500,000. You know what? It's a very huge money. You take it, man. Anyway, they will throw you out of it. And I told them, listen, man, I had a very hard life. Before 2 years ago, I was in house custody for 6 months. Most of the days we didn't have food to eat, me and my children. And I have opportunity to make a phone call and to get $500,000. But why should I do that? The only thing that I have here is my reputation, which is, I think the money can come and go. I don't care for the money. My home, my land, I've been born here. I've been raised here. I know every inch of this place, every stone.
بابا كان مسليها ضاعوا مني
لك بعدين هلا طب والله ما افهمك فاهم
بابا كلها انزل لك اياها حكت لي لا بديش
My father and mother rented this house at 64. Now I've been born at 71. At 90, we found ourselves against the settlers in the court. We ask ourselves how that became. We live here since 64.
The process of buying homes in this area is probably a subject that one needs to get a PhD on to understand the nuances and intricacies of buying land here. Land here is underneath Ottoman law, British law, Jordanian law, and modern Israeli law. In our process of buying a single home here, we can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in uncovering the correct certifications to verify that the owner who has approached us is in fact the correct owner. He himself may not even know if he correctly or incorrectly owns that home. We've been to court many times. We've been challenged by organizations like the Palestinian Authority or today the Hamas, and we've never lost a court case against these homes. Never, not even once.
I lost the court against the settlers, and the judge ordered to get me out of the house and to pay, of course, 12,000 shekels, the cost of the court. They didn't give us a date. They kept it open, and that's what makes me more angry, and I won't say afraid, but I have a wife and children. I have to take care of them. I don't want to caught working in a very far place and find the settlers are breaking the house and throwing everything out.
Danny Zeidman from Iramim has a phrase that he uses, and he calls it a thermal map of Jerusalem. So the hottest place is the Temple Mount. And then the nearer you are to the Temple Mount, the nearer you are to the core of Jerusalem, and whatever changes you want to make in Jerusalem, you want to make as near as you can to the Temple Mount. So Elad are located in an ideal spot. They're just beneath the Temple Mount. They view it all the time. And for them, it's a highly emotional, religious experience just being there. So it's a privilege to live in City of David, to be so close to the Temple Mount. And this, I think, it doesn't cloud their vision, it colors their vision of everything else that's going. Everything else becomes instrumental to allowing them to live this close to the Temple Mount, to allowing them to pave the way, to prepare the ground for the third temple. And archaeology is just viewed by them, someone used the phrase, the Messiah's ass. So archaeologists are the Messiah's ass. If they can move us, if they can carry us a few more steps nearer to conquering, the entire area of the Temple Mount, so be it, we'll use them. And when they get tired, we'll find someone else. יש דברים שלא עושים. יש דברים שארכיאולוגים צריכים לשים לב אליהם כשהם עושים פעולה בתוך קהילה. אנחנו מפקיעים שטח שהוא שטח ציבורי, אומרים לאנשים, hands off, זה שלנו, אנחנו מטפלים בזה, ואל תפריעו לנו, ואנחנו מחזירים את זה רק כשסיימנו. ומה שאנחנו מחזירים זה אף פעם לא מה שלקחנו. תמיד עשינו בו שינויים, הסרנו, גרפנו, סילקנו, השמדנו. כל פעילות ארכיאולוגית היא פעילות הרסנית. אז כל ארכיאולוג צריך לשאול את עצמו, לפני שאני הורס אתר לטובת המדע, האם מה שאני עושה מוצדק מבחינה אתית? האם זה מביא תועלת לאנשים שאני בקשר איתם, למקום, לאנשים שנתנו לי את המקום הזה?
A lot of people ask me, why do you hate these people? Why should I love them? What they did to me? What they bring me good to me and my children? Why should my children to see guards with the guns around? So why should I love them, Why should 50,000 people here in Silwan loves them? They dream to take my land. I'm staying here. My children will stay here. In spite of that, I don't like the kind of life that they live now. My children will. And the kind of the race that I have to give them with the people like this. But we will be here. 36 years of my life I lived here. And my sons will be here too, I'm sure of it.
אם תשאלו אותי מה השורה התחתונה כאן, השורה התחתונה כאן היא שאנחנו צריכים לחיות, העיר הזו היא בערך שליש פלסטינים, שליש חרדים ושליש כל השאר, ואנחנו בתור נציגים של איזה חלק קטן מהשליש של כל השאר, אנחנו צריכים להיות קצת יותר צנועים בזה שאנחנו בוחרים את מי אנחנו משרתים ואיך אנחנו עושים את זה, ואיך אנחנו משרתים את המשך החיים המשותפים בעיר הזו. זאת נקודת המבט שלי, שהיא בהחלט לא רק ארכיאולוגית מקצועית, אלא גם ארכיאולוגית אתית, וגם רואה את הארכיאולוגיה ככלי שצריך לשמש לקידום השלום בעולם, ולא כלי שצריך לשמש לקידום ריב ומדון.